out of Alabama. She's a pastor's wife. She went to the doctor, and he told her she was dealing with a bulging disc, and he wanted to do some kind of surgery or something on her, but she said no, she refused it. And the second dilemma is an 87-year-old woman who is said to have a narrowing spinal cord, and because of that, she can no longer walk. She can no longer even hold a glass, to drink from.
Polypow.
Sure.
They have to do everything for her, and she was not in that condition. They did tell her early on, though, that she had some kind of arthritis.
Anderson.
Apostle.
Nice to have you, Apostle Anderson. Yes, we have a nice group here tonight, and go ahead, Sandra. Go ahead.
And so the sister carried her to Tennessee, and the doctors there told her it was a narrowing spinal cord, and that's created the crippling inability to walk, inability to hold her own, like I said, water glass, and they have to move her.
Joshua Bullock.
Nice to have you here,
and
Joshua.
so they were asking, they were just concerned about it. And I said, I have someone I will ask, I will inquire of. So help me with that, please. But the mom is sound in the mind, great memory, talking and all of that, but just can't function.
Okay. Yeah. So, so Sandra Russell asked the question, or two. She brought up two examples. We can start the call now, and we'll start it on this subject because this subject is relevant, quite a bit relevant. Because there's a lot of people with back pain or debilitated because of some interference to nerve energy flow. Of course, it's a vast topic, but to keep it simple, first let me address bulging disc. The first thing that the doctor would have to know, and I'm sure he's done his homework if he's worth his weight in salt, is that he took an MRI to know to the extent to which there is a bulging disc. Bulging discs can be worked on very carefully by a skilled practitioner by simply compressing over and over again. It's a very specific technique. I've done it thousands and thousands of times over the last 40 years, actually. Depending on the severity of the bulging disc, there may or may not be required a surgery. However, I most often suggest not having a back surgery. Instead, doing other things, which I'll mention. Back surgeries fail 70% of the time, but the doctors, of course, don't tell you that. That's an actual statistic. They fail, especially lower back surgery fails 70% of the time. Let me just pause right there for a little housekeeping. Welcome all the guests tonight. There are a lot of people that came to the call. If you haven't announced yourself, please do so we know you're on the call.
Polypow.
I'm sorry, who's this?
Polly.
Okay, I'm having a hard time hearing, but that's okay. Welcome to the call. So we're addressing a question that was asked regarding bulging discs and the suggestion by the doctor that a surgery would be required. The simple answer is first, of course, if he's done his homework correctly, he would have diagnosed it very precisely. And on an X-ray, particularly on an MRI, not an X-ray, on an MRI, you are able to see the severity of a bulging disc. So without going into too much more detail there, a bulging disc can be significant. It can cut off nerve supply to specific organs. It could also cut off nerve supply to specific working muscles and prevent them from working very effectively. However, here's the good news. The bad news is 70% of back surgeries are failures. The good news is you can do a lot to take the pressure off. Welcome everyone to the call. I hear the bings coming in. You can take a lot of pressure off the lower back by simply losing weight and very little weight. For example, every 10 pounds, and I'll just do a little housekeeping here, you want to mute yourself by pressing *6 if you have background noise, because we are recording this call for others who cannot be here tonight. Okay, so if you do have any background noise, please do honor the call and the recording of the call by keeping the background quiet. Having said that, surgeries do fail, and they fail very often. The simple solution, especially the most conservative solution, is for every 10 pounds that you lose from your belly, you can take 30 pounds of pressure off your lower back. 30 pounds of pressure is an enormous amount of pressure and is exponentially increased when there's a bulging disc, because imagine your spine is like a big shock absorber. The less weight, the less gravity is working on all of us, but the less weight you have in your belly area, the less pressure you're putting on your lower back. This is a really important piece of information that's not at all discussed. They want to do surgery. Obviously, there's a lot of money in surgery. But look, sometimes surgeries are required. I was very grateful for the surgeon who saved my life when I was in a very bad car accident when I was 21 years old. Okay, the next question was an example of a person who was having a narrowing spinal cord. Depending upon where the spinal cord is narrowing and why it is narrowing would dictate or define what areas of the body become dysfunctional. And yes, you can lose. Remember, your spinal cord, for those of you who don't know anatomy, I'll give it to you really quickly and carefully here. You have a brain, and then you have a brain stem. From the brain stem, which is right at where your cranium is, if you were to take your 2 index fingers and just rub them along the ridge of your cranium behind your ears there, that's where the brain stem then lies, right in that opening. And from the brain stem is the spinal cord. So what is the spinal cord? The spinal cord is actually tissue, the cord itself. The spinal column is what narrows, okay? It's not the cord, it's the column inside, the housing, so to speak, of this cord that runs. It almost looks like a horse's tail. At the very end, closer to your tailbone, it looks like a horse's tail. Your spinal cord is composed of three very delicate tissues, That's why anytime there's a puncturing of those tissues for, when they do the injections for pain blocks, it can scar the tissue and it can actually create issues. And in some instances, blocks are required, spinal blocks are required. That means they inject directly into the tissue that Sandra was speaking of. And they can damage the tissue slightly, but in certain instances, when you're in surgery, they have to do that in order to perform certain surgeries. So they'll literally give you a spinal block, which will literally paralyze, or numb, I should say is a better word, numb the entire bottom half of your body, and that can be very specific. So to address your question, Sandra, spinal cords are tissue, and the housing of that cord can impinge upon that tissue if it narrows, and it can narrow for lots of different reasons I can't get into on this call, but primarily very often it narrows because there's a calcium buildup inside the cord. So if that's actually happening, they literally have to go in there with a very delicate operation and remove some of those deposits in order to open up the cord and allow the information that's coming from the brain through the brainstem, through the spinal cord, and out through the nerve roots. All of your nerve roots exit from your spinal column to all your organs and every tissue cell. Every cell in your body has a nerve going to it. That is the brilliance. Like I always, I like to say this. I can absolutely prove there's a God because of the miracles of the anatomy that I've studied and the miracles of the way our body actually functions. And it can turn. I don't like to say turn against us, but it can move in the direction. This is how I like to say it. Typically, it can move in the direction of ease, where your body is more highly functional. You're an optimized human being on every level, spiritually, physically, psychologically, emotionally. Of course, physically is what we're talking about and focusing on the calls. Or it can move towards dis-ease, or what is commonly referred to as disease. You take that word apart, it is dis-ease. And when the body is moving in that direction, there are things breaking down. There is cellular degeneration. There is degeneration of organ tissue and even bone tissue. There can be tissue anywhere in the body that has decided to age more rapidly than would normally be, let's call it a normal aging response to aging, which is a repetition of the word. But the point is that we can, in fact, slow the aging process. Anti-aging is very real, but most people don't understand it very well. And frankly, I don't think the prefix anti is very effective. I would say, better described, slowing the aging process is not only plausible, it is completely possible when you understand the mechanisms of how nutrition works inside the human frame. Especially protein. So I could go. That's about as deep as I can go with that right now, Sandra, on this call. But certainly we could take it further, and I would need to know more about these individual cases, and I'd be happy to speak with anyone that you would like me to at any point in time. Okay?
Thank you very, very much. I appreciate it. Thank you.
You're welcome, of course. I did want to spend a little bit of time on this, as I mentioned in the email, on Alzheimer's. It's really a brain disease. I want to spend a little bit of time with you guys because this is really, really critical to understand, because it can affect any one of us, but it doesn't have to, and it doesn't need to. Let me give you some statistics that will absolutely awaken you to what has happened since the 19th century. In 1926, there were only 33. I'll repeat that. Only 33 cases were reported in 1926. Of course, you could argue in 1926 maybe the categorization and data collection was not as sophisticated as it is today. Okay, I'll accept that as argument pushback. But let me give you this statistic, which makes no sense at all, but I'll have it make sense for you. After World War II in the mid-20th century, 24 million people in industrialized society are now currently disabled, as of 2015 actually, are currently disabled with that brain-killing epidemic. 33 cases reported in 1926, 24 million people in industrialized societies now reported to be dying of this brain-killing epidemic. Do you think there's something wrong with that picture?
Yes.
There's something wrong, and there's something right that we can do about it. But first, let me help you understand, well, how is this happening in the first place? How is this even possible? Well, research, and there are over 1,000, in fact, to be exact, there are 1,041 papers currently written on the subject. That means there's a lot of people that have studied this. There's a lot of research that's been done, and it's all been tied to basically two things. One, aluminum. Aluminum, for those of you who remember the periodic scale, I think it's number 13. Aluminum is everywhere. It's in rocks and stones and dirt and clay, but that's not the threat. By the way, it's even in plants. But again, proof of God. In plants, in plants, there are oxalates and silicates. These are other compounds without getting too scientific here. There are other compounds which balances and prevents the aluminum uptake by the human being when consumed. Isn't that interesting? However, how is it then that aluminum became so pervasive? How did it get into our bodies, and what is it actually doing in our bodies? First of all, it doesn't get removed very easily unless you know how to remove it, which we're going to talk about tonight. Second of all, it's important to understand where the sources of aluminum are, because there are some things you can eliminate from your household. For example, if you're cooking with aluminum, stop. Throw out those aluminum pans, and I mean today. Get rid of anything that you're cooking in that has aluminum, please, for your own sake. By the way, drinking water has aluminum in it. You know how aluminum got into our water city water supplies? Metropolitan, that's the word I was looking for. My brain stopped for a moment. Drinking water, they put aluminum to clarify water. To clarify water so the water's clear when you drink it. Don't drink right out of your tap. Drink pure sources, or make sure you filter your water extensively. So drinking water. Okay, some other things to know about. Those aluminum mochas that are often made in these more processed coffee beverages, stop drinking it. You don't want to drink processed coffee beverages. If you drink coffee at all, do not drink processed coffee beverages, because aluminum mochas are in there. A few other things. Food additives. Oh, well, we've been talking about that for months now on this call, Eating God's Way. We don't want to be eating food additives. They're filled with things like aluminum. Infant formulas. Here's another big one. Medications. Remember, some of you may remember on previous calls, I talked about how there are many heavy metals in medications. Aluminum is one of them. Okay, although aluminum would be considered a lighter metal than iron, for example, or some other metal. There are personal hygiene products. So if you're buying your normal, everyday, I don't know, pick one, off-the-shelf deodorants, you're spraying it especially bad, but if you're putting it on your body, stop. There's lots of options. You can buy Tom's deodorant without aluminum-free. Just look for aluminum-free deodorants. And whatever you do, don't spray deodorants on yourself if it doesn't say aluminum-free on it. Because when you spray, it's an aerosol. And when you spray with an aerosol, they're minuscule, micromolecular droplets that can move through your olfactory nervous system. That's through your nose. But you don't want to be spraying deodorant filled with aluminum that you can sniff up through your nose. And the last but not least is vaccinations. So there's a lot of common sources of aluminum exposure. So, I know some of you may be scratching your head and saying, oh, well, I've been doing this all my life. Well, stop today. It's not what you've been doing for the last 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. It's what you do today to make a change that will affect you tomorrow. And interestingly enough, we can take aluminum out of the body. We can absolutely do it. Now, in medical circles, they talk about, I forget what it's called, DFO. It's some fancy chelating agent. And a chelating agent, for those of you who don't know, they'll put it into your bloodstream, and it'll attach itself to the aluminum, and then it will remove the aluminum, okay? It will remove it from your body tissues. They actually treat Alzheimer's patients with that in some instances, and it does help in some instances. Not in all instances, but in some. However, here's the good news. We talk on this call about green foods all the time, don't we?
Yeah.
What is one of the qualities of a green food, might you guess, based on the conversation tonight? What do you think one of the qualities of particularly a green food called chlorella, which is a single-celled algae, what do you think that does in the body for you?
Tell us.
Say it again.
Purifies blood.
It actually does. It will take the heavy metals out of your blood and out of your liver in particular where they're stored. I chew about 20 per day. Now, people call me a certified health nut. I'm proud to be one. I'm proud to be a certified health nut because I study these things not just for myself, but to help as many other people become awakened to the fact that they can live in God's way. They can live with a vital, healthy, and happy body until the day that you are chosen to transition. Fact. It's a fact. Study nutrition, any amount of nutrition, and you see that the nutrition or the fuel that you put in your body makes a huge difference. So, for example, aluminum is not the only contributor, but aluminum does a very odd thing in the brain. It goes into the brain nerve cells, and it takes fibers and kind of twists them all up, like tangles them up. They're called something like fibril I forget. It's a fancy name. I don't remember that. But it takes these inside the nerve cell. It takes fiber and tangles it up. Well, what's the problem with that? Well, the problem is that it actually shuts down the nerve capacity, the functional capacity of the brain cells. We need our brain cells firing. That's why we eat so many of these superfoods that we talk about. The more of these superfoods you're aware of, the more you put them in your body, the more vital your brain will remain till the day that you transition. No question about it. So aluminum does this very odd thing inside of the brain cell. And in previous calls, we talked about sugar. Sugar is the dirty fuel. Sugar, if you don't burn those calories, it gets stored, and most of us don't burn enough of those calories. So where does it get stored? Well, it gets stored around the liver. It gets stored around different organs, in your gut mainly for men, and for women it's in other places. And the one of the places that it gets stored are in what are called amyloid deposits. And amyloid is just another one of those fancy words, and here's what it means. It's like plaque on the nerve endings. So aluminum goes inside the nerve endings and creates these entanglements, amyloid deposits, or the fats that come from sugar or poor, call it this way, the bad fuel, the dirty fuel that's processed in your body and turns into fat. It goes to your brain. It goes to your brain. So no matter how much you love sugar, and trust me, I love sugar. I was brought up in a family of bakers. My grandmother was an expert baker from Vienna. So I know sweets, and I love sweets, and I've had to break a lot of habits. Do I still have sweets? Absolutely. Do I carefully monitor the amount of sugar grams that I take into my body on a daily basis? Absolutely. I would strongly suggest that everyone on the call tonight does the same thing. Don't look at calories, look at sugar grams. So when you look at something you're planning to purchase from the supermarket, or you have this immediate craving and you can't resist and you're jumping for something, pause, take a breath, and read the label. Okay, we've talked a lot about that on these calls. Reading the labels makes a lot of difference, okay, for you. It can protect you. Okay, so green foods, they'll take out these metals. You can prevent Alzheimer's. Trust me, you can. There's no question about it. Those things I mentioned earlier, take them, be careful about them, things like the deodorants you use, the utensils you cook out of, et cetera, et cetera. If you want that list after the call, everyone, I'll be happy to send you an extensive article, or maybe just a list of the things you can do if that's something you all would want. So green foods take it out. Protein now for the brain. Protein is essential for the brain. It's essential for the regeneration of cells. Your cells become healthier when they're getting efficient, high-quality protein, like the protein that comes in the product. The product's called Super Amino 23. And you can't take too little. Oh, no, how do I want to say this? You can't take too much. You can't really take too little either, because anything you put in the body is used immediately as protein to repair and to rebuild tissues. So if you're going into a surgery, and you know you're going into a surgery, God forbid, because you have to, Take 20 a day going in for 1 month and take 20 a day coming out for 2 months. That's how you recover in half the time. And that's how you recover going into your surgery when you have that high-quality protein streaming through your blood into and towards all of your smooth muscle tissue. Everything will heal more efficiently. It's one of the most brilliant products that I've ever discovered in 40 years. It's brilliant. Many other things that protein does. It delivers in less than 23 minutes. It does not use your intestinal system. For people who have any kind of organ challenges, it's a brilliant strength builder, will provide endurance. Even Parkinson's people, because Parkinson's people don't die from Parkinson's, they die from falling down and then infecting. So it can reduce lactic acid, which prevents contracture. So people who have that kind of thing going on. And the bottom line is that this protein is the most brilliant product I've seen in over 40 years of studying the kinds of nutrition that excels. I'm not talking about average nutrition, like a vitamin C tablet off of your Walgreens shelf. That's not what I'm talking about. On this call, we're talking about super foods, and it is food. So although you're swallowing it like a tablet, because it is a tablet, I try to help everyone reframe their minds in their understanding that it is food. So I swallow 20 of these tablets per day. I do, almost every day. And particularly when I feel my energy coming down, like tonight, right before the call, I had to do a meeting with 12 people. I did a whole presentation for an hour, so I took 10 tablets, and I was spot on, no waffling of my strength. So when you want strength, if you want to beat cravings on unhealthy habits and food habits, as soon as you feel that craving coming on, I would recommend you take 5 or 10 of those tablets and you drink it with 2 glasses of water, and you'll stop that craving in its tracks. Here's another thing that protein does. It manages blood sugar. Any protein does that, but this protein, because it delivers 99%, is available to your body as opposed to, let's say, maximally 27 to 30% for dietary proteins, meat, fish, poultry, eggs. Those only deliver about 27 to 30% of protein, and the rest is hard work that your body has to do to remove some of the waste in those food products. This protein, no waste. It builds the body. That's what's called an anabolic build. We want to be functioning anabolically more than we function catabolically. What does that mean? We want to have our digestion work with less strain and less stress and with more ease. So we want to put in foods like fiber, which is another one of the most important foods we talk about on this call, like fiber, which feeds the body but also cleanses your intestinal tract. We want to make it easy for our digestion. The more hard we make it for our digestion, the more work the body has to do. And when the body does work, it expands energy. So energy, work, equals calories, which gets stored in your human body. But when we eat foods that are far more easy to digest, have no additives, are not filled with preservatives, do not have heavy metals in them, when we eat foods that are clean, oh, by the way, baking soda, and that's what happened actually, that's the history of Alzheimer's, baking soda was filled with aluminum. And all of our mothers were using baking soda when we were children. All of our mothers. I'm sure of it. So what do we do now? We do something now. Here's what we do. We start eating these foods that can take it out of the body, because it can take it out of the body. Just so you know. There's been a lot of research that has proven that an organic diet for just a 7-day diet. There was an MIT research project done. Basically, they gave people a 7-day lean, clean, organic diet, and in 7 days, 85% of all pesticides were removed from the blood. This is powerful. And what it should point out again is that the body is a miracle. You have been given an expert mechanism. There is no more powerful a mechanism that was granted us as a blessing for thriving, not just surviving, but for thriving on this planet while we're here, to do the work that we're here to do, to serve others. So, green foods, protein, fiber, and let us not forget the fruits that grow on our trees. But even more practical than eating lots of oranges, apples, bananas, which is all good, and I recommend you do, is to be able to get a product that has a concentrate, almost looking like the viscosity of oil, or like, not oil, the viscosity of cough syrup. So that thickness, that kind of concentration of fruit is going to clean the free radicals, the toxins out of your body. So, simple. Fruits, green foods and vegetables, protein, fiber. Those 4 foods are related to excellent health, optimizing your body for the rest of your life. All right, I'm going to stop there. We went over a lot of information, and it was pretty thick and soupy. Did everybody hang in there and track with me tonight?
It was great. Sir, it was really good. It was really good.
Yeah.
I have a question.
Please. And who's speaking?
I heard 3. This is Daniel. I heard protein, I got fiber, and I got the fruits. What was the 4th one?
The green foods, Daniel.
Okay, got it. That's what I missed.
Those green foods, they are so crucial to our well-being. And there's more to it, but green foods in a variety of grasses and cruciferous vegetables, in the formulas, in these products that the Purium company provides. You know, this is how I look at the Purium company. I just want to say this real quickly. It's an opportunity. Sure, it's a financial opportunity, because right now Amazon.com just endorsed and purchased Whole Foods. In other words, organic is no longer some trendy, hippie person standing out on a farm digging in the soil. Okay? And that ain't what it is anymore. Okay? This is like, guys, look, you got to keep it. All it's saying is let's stay as clean as we can and just be conscious about the choices you make. Self-empowered care, making good choices, and knowing that your body is a miracle of nature, and that your body has the capability of healing itself. The power that made the body is the power that healed the body, that heals your body in every moment, actually. So, Daniel, green foods, that rounds out the 4 food groups that, in my opinion, are far more important than the typical food groups that the government guidelines talk about. You know, your typical carbohydrates, you should definitely reduce them to 0 to none. You want healthy fats in your diet, you know, avocados, good olive oil, macadamia nuts, walnuts, almonds. These are the good fats, okay? You can get that from salmon. You know, wild-caught salmon, not the real pink stuff that they're adding things to.
Not the colored salmon.
Yeah, not the colored salmon, but the wild-caught salmon. I know there's some fishermen on the line that know salmon quite well. Okay, any other questions, comments? Let's go. It's your call.
I have a comment, Dr. Mike. This is Fleischer. I just wanted to say I really enjoyed you talking about the amino 23. I noticed that I upped my intake of them, and just recently I started taking more per day, and I noticed that my my kidney, which was hurting, is no longer hurting. And okay. I think that's amazing.
Yeah. Kidneys hurt, by the way, Felicia. Kidneys hurt when they're burdened by the wrong kinds of dietary protein. So you're obviously doing all the right things. This protein, because it doesn't need the kidney at all to process it, it goes right to the rest of your body where your body needs healing. So if your kidney needs healing, it's going to go there too, but only to heal it, only to heal the tissue, not to move through the plumbing system. Okay?
Wow.
Clear?
Yeah.
And I should add, I had a conversation today. There was a woman, I can't remember it was a depression. It was on the subject of depression. And the protein will actually clear depression. That is something that you might want to understand. How does that happen? I'm not making claims here, just so everyone understands that. I'm just helping you understand that when you have a high quality protein of this nature, that the blood is balancing, the solutes are balancing, the bloodstream is balancing, the liquid is balancing, the liquid on the outside of your blood cells and on the inside of your blood cells. That's the easiest way to describe it. It's balanced. It's called osmotic pressure. That means you're better hydrated, and when you're better hydrated, you have less headaches, you have less depression. There's a lot of things that this protein does that I haven't even, are more obscure but extremely powerful. Depression is often connected with sugar metabolism imbalances. Go ahead.
Does it increase the serotonin uptake? Does it?
I don't know I don't know that that's true. I don't know that that's true. I don't know.
Okay.
I've not heard that up to now.
Okay.
But it will balance the blood sugar metabolism. And blood sugar, I'll tell you what, you want to get depressed quickly? Eat a lot of sugar. Eat a lot of sugar.
So when people are in depression and they start eating a lot of cakes and sweets, they're making it worse.
You bet. And that's the irony here, isn't it? Here we have these bodies that are absolutely miraculous. Most of us don't even understand our own bodies. We only understand what the doctor tells us, which is very limited because he has very limited time to explain anything and typically doesn't. So we are stressed, and we reach for our comfort foods, and often it's sugars. You're right, Pastor Anderson. So we're reaching for these sugars, and they're making us feel worse, and they're stressing our bodies to no end. We're ending up with diabetes, neuropathy, kidney failure, heart disease, and it's all connected to one simple sugar that actually can destroy the body. Sugar is the destroyer. Last week I think I called it rat poison. Sometimes I get a little strong about my passions, but hey, let's just speak truth to each other. What are we here for?
Oh,
amen.
Dr. Mike?
Yes, sir.
Can you give me a couple of good ways to make sure I'm getting good fiber?
Absolutely. First of all, there is a product. Let me say something about fiber, and then I'll talk about foods as well. A fiber. Okay. Fiber comes in many forms, but typically it comes in vegetables and fruits because they're fibrous in nature. Okay. And our bodies are brilliant. It separates out the fiber, and what we take from the fiber is often very specific micronutrients. That, for example, the vitamin C in an orange, and the white stuff, I don't know what you call it, the white stuff that surrounds the orange on the outside once you peel it, that's fiber. Okay, call that fiber. And in that fiber is where most of the vitamin C is. It's not in the juice.
Wow.
You follow me?
Wow. That is good.
Yeah, it is good.
Dr. Mike, I like to interject about the fiber from Purium. I've been taking it now on a daily basis. Really, it's changed the quality of the fiber. It's very inexpensive too. A month's supply is like $14.
Yeah,
it's
totally inexpensive.
That's club member cost. Okay, and I take it every day in my shake, and it has made a tremendous difference. I mean, unbelievable difference. And so all my fiber, I get concentrated pure fiber through the Purium card. So you don't have to go out and buy fiber. Look for fiber. I got rid of the oatmeal. I don't use it anymore. It's like a joke compared to the fiber for what we get for $14, which is worth a month. And it's I don't really look for a lot of grainy stuff like I used to do for fiber. And it tastes good, excellent, and mix it with my shake, and it does a much better job at cleaning the colon. I had a checkup, and they said I'm good to go.
Yeah,
okay.
Excellent. That caramel, it's a caramel apple, so the flavor's good. You can even mix it with your Power Shake, which is the green foods. That's what I do. Or you can drink it. You can drink it by itself. But one very important point that Pastor Anderson was kind of getting at is this. You would have to eat probably, I don't know how many oranges or apples to get the amount of fiber that we need on a daily basis. We need, men and women, adult men and women need absolutely 25 grams of fiber every day in one serving. In one serving of the fiber blend that Purium has put together as a formulation, which, by the way, you should know this, there's a food in it called rice bran solubles. We have a contract for 5 years with farmers in Thailand that are growing organic rice bran solubles for us, and those rice bran solubles will strip triglycerides and cholesterols out. I actually put a scoop of that also into my shake. I make very dense shakes. All of you are probably saying, well, my God, you seem like you put everything in there. Well, I do. I put a lot of stuff in there because I know what the stuff does. I put the stuff in there not only to make it taste good, but for it to do the work that I know has to be done in my body. So every adult, man and woman, needs 25 grams of fiber per day. You could be eating 2 huge plates of salad per day, and you still would not get 25 grams of fiber per day. So even vegetarians are not getting the fiber that they need. And here's the 2 things that fiber does. One, it supports the production of the fat-burning hormone in your body. So putting enough fiber into your body every day prevents diabetes, prevents atherosclerosis, that's the hardening of your arteries. It prevents heart disease. It will prevent the strokes because it's stripping out the triglycerides and the cholesterol. You get it? You see the theme here? Yeah. The food is what makes us healthy if we eat the right foods. And the nice thing about this particular company is they just made it very practical and convenient. I don't have to go out and eat 10 oranges. I will eat oranges and apples or bananas in a day, but I don't have to eat 10 or 12 or 20 of them. I don't know how many it would take, but 25 grams can be easily gotten from one serving of the daily fiber blend, which again is completely inexpensive. I think it's $14.95, as Pastor Anderson mentioned. This food. Can
I say, interject?
Go ahead.
We had to close the call.
Yeah.
You told me something that I found to be true, that my grocery bill has went down. Connie is a testament. Yeah. We go 50% less because I haven't bought any bacon in my house, my breakfast, eggs. We don't have that anymore. Pancakes. The oatmeal is still in the boxes that I had 7 months ago. The cereal that I was taking. All this stuff is off my grocery list. I mean, and I can add some more. My smoked Garcia sausages they don't exist anymore. Okay, my ham doesn't exist anymore, and some butter that we bought from the store doesn't exist. I mean, I keep on going until you see, man, that I don't have the Frosted Flakes and the Cheerios and other stuff. I get all my stuff in the product, and my grocery bill has went down, my health has went up, and so like my daughter says, I'm hooked for life.
Yeah,
well,
for sure.
Yeah. The truth is that when we replace unhealthy habits with healthy habits, the cravings go away and our choices are actually made simpler. I'm not here to tell you stop eating. Come on. We're all going to eat, and I'll guarantee you Pastor Anderson's going to have some oatmeal. He's going to bust open one of those containers one day and have some oatmeal.
I'm going to have me some catfish, okay?
But balance is what we're talking about. Moderation. We're talking about balance and making correct choices most of the time, so that when you do want to play and you do want to go out and enjoy, at least you know what optimum health is. I talk about the baseline. You need to know what your baseline of excellent health is first, and the way that you do that, at least in the protocol that's suggested here within this company and this call and this way of eating, is you start with a gentle cleanse, or maybe just 3 products, like the core 3, the fruit, the greens, and the protein. You start somewhere simple. Then you adjust over time. As I mentioned to someone who wanted to lose 80 pounds, I said the goal is 80 pounds over a 1.5-year period. I want you to be realistic because we want to lose weight healthfully, not artificially. Diets don't work. Lifestyles work. And that's what we're suggesting here. So thank you. I'm gonna wrap up the call because I know you guys have really hung in tough here for 46 minutes. So I will say this. Let me say this last thing. Really appreciate you being here every Thursday. I'm here for you and anyone that you choose to invite. Get with the people who invited you to this call. There is opportunity in sharing the truth with others about how to eat well, to create a lifestyle of health, happiness, and vitality. It's yours to own. You get to make that choice. God bless all of you. I appreciate you so much.
We appreciate it.
Thank you, Dr. Mike.
Good night, everyone.
Have a good night.
Good
I
night.
enjoyed it.
Dr. Mike Fleischer with New Path Nutrition. It's a pleasure to bring these simple tips to you. There's a lot more coming. If you simply click on the links in the description below this video and or on the annotations in the video, click on those links. You'll learn more about the kind of nutrition that actually helped me recover from a serious accident and will help you to actually elevate your level of health. Thanks for visiting today, everyone. See you on the next video.